Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay and I am so excited to be here to share with you this bokeh background technique. Now you're going to need a few supplies to start with. You're going to need 3 different colors of tissue paper, and you want one of them to be either a white or a cream. You're also going to need matte gel medium and clear, and you're going to need a foam brush or some kind of brush to get the product on with. You're also going to need some circle dies, 4 different sizes is what I am using. You can use 3, you can use 5. It really is up to you how much in depth you want to go with this. Punches also work. You're also going to need heavyweight cardstock. I'm using white cardstock here as my background. You could also use black if you wanted to. And mine is A2 in size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The first thing you want to do is use your circles to either punch or die cut a bunch of different circles. So I like to fold over my tissue paper so I can get quite a few cuts done at once. The only problem with this is they're all going to kind of be stuck together. That's okay, I'll show you how to separate them. So I'm going to do this with all the different colors here. So I started with purple. I'm going to do it with my light bluish green color of tissue paper here. And I'm also going to do it with my white as well. I'm cutting all 4 dies at once. I'm cutting more of the smaller ones, so I run the smaller ones through more times than the larger ones because I'll use more of those. I dump them all in a bowl, and then whenever I'm ready, I have them all cut out, I start separating them. So what I like to do is just to give them a nice little flick with my finger. That kind of separates them out, and then they kind of just come apart and fall apart. I have found this quick sticks tool helps me. If you have any kind of little sticky tool on the end or a gummy kind of tool, that's really going to help you get these apart as well. This takes a little bit of time, but you do want to separate these each individually to make sure you only have 1 layer of tissue. I like to work on a piece of plastic. This is a page protector. You could use plastic wrap, whatever. Just make sure you cover your work surface, and you want it to be kind of easy to pull up glued things from it because more than likely you're going to glue your paper to it. So just keep that in mind whatever you decide to work on. So I like to start off with a very, very, very thin layer of my gel matte medium. This is going to be only the first layer. You're going to layer and layer and layer on top of this, so make sure you're working in really thin layers. I start in the center. I'm starting with my largest circles, and I'm just going to start placing them down. Again, I'm using that quick sticks tool. You can use tweezers, you can use your fingers, whatever you want to do. Once I get them on there, I'm going to start overlapping. So here I'm going to overlap a white circle onto my blue and purple circles. So you're going to want to put another layer of your matte medium down. That way it sticks to everything and it's nice and flat and glued down. So that's where I'm saying work in thin layers because you're going to have a lot of them and you don't want to overdo it and get some really thick paper that's never going to dry on you. You want this to dry down eventually. I am going to speed through this a little bit because I'm covering the whole entire background here. You can go as in depth as you want to with this. You can do the whole background. You could do just a frame. You could do, if you do journaling, I've done this in journaling before, you could do just the edges of your paper. It really is up to you. So again, I'm just going to continue to put little circles down. Some of them will be hanging off the edge. That's okay. We can go and trim those off later on. Some of them are going to be in the center. Some of them are going to be overlapping. You just want to make sure you have a nice layer of glue down to make sure everything's nice and flat so it won't peel up on you. I'm going in and starting to layer these up a little bit. So I like to go in with some of my smaller circles, put them over my larger ones to really give that bokeh effect throughout my project. Eventually, you're going to have a few blues next to each other. You're going to have a few purples next to each other. That's fine. That's the way this looks. So you don't want them too spread out. You want them all kind of clustered together. You can also see on this project, whenever I'm starting out, I'm not using too much of my white. I'm more or less going in on my first layer with the blues and the purples, using my white very sparingly. I'm going to come back in with the white on top of all of this and really go in and soften up the look of some of these. That's going to help give me that diffused look as well. Now on my second project, which I don't show the entire process of this video, I will show you the finished project, but I kept a lot more white space in that one. You can go either which way. You can go heavy with the color, or you can go really light with it and keep a lot of white and light space in your background. It really is up to you. It's whatever you think looks good. You can also do whatever color combinations you want. So here I'm doing blue and purple and white. You could also go in with a rainbow of colors if you wanted to. You could cut different shapes from your die cuts and do it that way as well. So again, I went in with circles here, but I have seen bokeh looks where they've used hearts, where they've used triangles. It's a really neat look. Just go and search some pictures on Google and get your inspiration that way, and then kind of just follow along with that pattern that you look at. So at this point, I have my first layer down. Here's where I'm really going to come in with a lot of that white and start to put it down and diffuse. You're going to start to layer and layer and layer over that. Again, this is why we work in really thin layers of glue, so it doesn't get so heavy and so thick on your paper that it's never going to dry. Now here is a closer look at that background all put together. You can see it's nice and flat. There are no pieces sticking up. Of course, things are hanging off the edge. We will fix that later, but first we want to seal everything in so nothing comes up. I like to just turn my paper or my little page protector in half so I've got a nice clean surface, and I just go in with one final layer of that gel medium. This is again just going to seal everything in, make sure everything's nice and stuck down and nothing's going to come up later on when we go. And you can do a lot of different things. You can die cut with this, you can stamp on it. You just want to make sure everything's nice and secure in there. Now I use the matte medium. You could try gloss if you wanted to, but I like the way the matte looks better in this type of project. There's a closer look at the finished project or the finished background, and I'm going to set this aside to dry. Now while that was drying, I also worked on another background, and I gave that some time to dry too. For that one, I used a green, an orange, and a white, and I left a lot more white space. You can see it off to the right hand side. So you can get a lot of different looks with this. It really is up to you how you want your final project to look. But you do have all those pieces hanging off the edge, so all you need to do is take your scissors and trim right up against your cardstock, and that's going to give you that nice even edge. You can also use your paper trimmer if you want, whatever's easiest for you. There is a closer look at both backgrounds finished and ready to be turned into cards. For my purple background, I did die cut it down. I matted that with some purple sparkle paper, used an ornament border die, layered that up several times, and I also added a Winter Wishes flag banner down in the bottom right hand corner. You can see it glued things stick very easily to this. It also glues down very easily and die cuts beautifully. So there is a closer look at that finished card. Now my second one, I kept it A2 in size, attached it to a card base, added a little frame and vellum with this happy birthday sentiment, added a few black balloons as well, and that very clean and simple minimalist card is ready to go. It's also very masculine, which I have a hard time with those, so I'm glad I was able to pull one out with this. That does it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, happy crafting.